All right, Ridge Runner Nation, welcome back to another edition of Trail Talk. We're going to sit down today with James Fox, and we're going to talk about his running career, where he's going, where he's came from, and some of his recent wins and some good places that he has. So let's get into it. How's it going, James?
Good. I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. It's a nice day, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really nice out.
Do you want to start off by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So my name's James Fox. I'm a grad student here at Ohio University. I also did my undergrad here, but I'm studying geology, and I also ran cross country here. And after I graduated my senior year, I kind of wanted to stay involved in the running community, and so I applied to work at OVRC, which they so graciously hired me at. And ever since, I've been kind of just experimenting with, well, I guess, my capabilities and trying to run longer stuff. And somehow I've ran even more consistently now than I did during undergrad. It's funny how that works.
More fun
yeah.
now.
It's a little less stressful now, not being on the team. I loved it, but now it's just different, you know.
Yeah, you're in one of those interesting spots where you get to take that information that you learned being on cross country and you're getting to apply it like many of the other runners into long distance nowadays.
Right.
Which is a really cool, I think, aspect of that. Let's jump back into your history a little bit. Just not too far, but like a couple weeks ago was Iron Furnace, and you actually did really well, winning the overall. Let's talk about that race a little bit, and kind of was that your goal when you went into that race, or was to win?
Yeah. The main goal was to try to beat the course record, and I didn't know if that was going to take like third place or second place. There were some fast guys signed up for it, and it was my first real race since the Columbus Marathon in October. But I was familiar with that trail. I had backpacked there a few times and ran there with my friend Adam Wise. And we really just wanted to go after that course record, and it ended up being the most perfect day. And ended up coming a little bit shy, but ended up walking away with a win. So I was pretty happy with it.
What kind of training did you do leading up to that race to really go for that course record? That is a very difficult half and a lot of hills and everything. So
Yeah, it's a little hillier than I remembered it. Honestly, my main goal was not that race this spring. So I was kind of orienting my training around a 50K. And this was, Iron Furnace was just a great opportunity to kind of get a really good workout in for that 50K distance. But I was doing a lot more trails than I normally did. Going out to Stroud's once or twice a week, and then running like on the bike path or on the roads, and trying to really get down into that quicker pace around like 5:50 pace for like 5 or 6 miles, 7 miles. But then the main thing was to do long runs with a mix of trails or just all on the roads, with a fair amount of elevation gain in them. And then typically I try to kind of speed up that second last half of a long run to get down the race pace. And my long runs range from like 15 miles to like 22 at that time.
pretty good. So you're pretty happy with that, obviously. And then that led you up to that 50K, which is the next one you were talking about, which is the Promised Land, which you also did really well in, being 5th overall and time of 5 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's a David Horton race, so I'm sure that one was also difficult. How did Promised Land go?
Yeah, Promised Land, that was the real goal for this spring. The main goal for that one, I kind of had two initially, to try to break 5 hours, and obviously that didn't happen. But my secondary goal was to try to be in that top 5 range and kind of round it out for the Ohio guys that went down there. it's funny. The top five were Ohio guys: Michael Owen and Travis Sitfeld. Flatlanders in Virginia. But it was really good. I had a blast somehow running that long. That was my longest run ever.
Yeah, you had not run anything up that point before, right?
No,
That length.
my longest run was the Columbus Marathon last year. So
Nice.
yeah.
It's pretty impressive. What made you do this transition into long distance? Because for the Iron Furnace, like that's a half marathon. It's a pretty good run, and in terms of nutrition, that's not really a thing you're thinking about a lot of times. But now with the longer distance marathons and the 50K, and I'm assuming future distances of longer length from you, nutrition is going to play an interesting aspect into it as well.
Yeah.
How did that work with Promised Land?
Yeah, I'd never really thought about nutrition before I started running like marathon distances, and it's really kind of neat to play around with to see what works and what doesn't work. With Promised Land, I used a lot of goos, and I had a bottle of More10. But you kind of just have to keep taking in calories every 45 minutes to an hour. And the aid stations are really well spaced in that one, and you can fill up with like Tailwind and potato chips and like popsicles and stuff.
Typical ultra
Yeah.
food choices. I've heard a trend recently being oatmeal cream pies or whatever.
Yeah.
Troy was saying is the new trend in ultra running snacks.
I'm always afraid to try anything too crazy when I'm out there. I normally try to keep it pretty bland, but salty too. That's always kind of nice. I think I had a pickle for the first time during a race at Promised Land, so that was fun.
Yeah, I always find it interesting. Many runners in the ultra style at the very end of those races just scarf down whatever they can grab a lot of times. And you're like, whenever you see like pictures of Michael taking 2 liters to the face at the end of near the end.
Yeah, there was like a day old pizza that had been sitting out that I kind of scarfed down a few pieces afterwards. But no, it's been really interesting to kind of have the nutrition aspect of racing too.
That's a whole new component to your training.
Yeah, definitely.
So during Promised Land, let's go from like kind of start to the end. Like, did you start off really strong and just felt strong the whole day, or did you have some serious ups and downs throughout the course? Being out there 5 hours is a long time.
Yeah, that's almost too long to be running. Yeah, I started off, it was me, Michael, and Travis. We were all together for like the first 3 miles and kind of started to strand out a little bit within those 3 miles. And like the first 4, like uphill the whole time. But then I was kind of on my own after like mile 5 or so. I couldn't really see anyone. Occasionally seeing Travis up on the straightaways. But it kind of tops out and gets a little bit rolling, and I tried to kind of cut it down a little bit there. It's nice and open, like grass trails. And then like kind of went on a road for a bit, and that was fairly easy. But there's a really hard technical downhill section at mile 13, and that's where a lot of people kind of put some time on me. Something I need to work on in the future is hard technical downhills. And that was all the way, honestly, until mile like 17. And at mile 18 is where I kind of hit my first of 2 low points in the race. And I was just kind of shuffling along, and I didn't really know where I was in the race. And then there was just this aid station, and they gave me some popsicles and kind of brought me back to life a little bit. And then I just kind of kept shuffling, kind of found this groove somehow between mile 20 and like 25, where I hit another aid station, and they kind of prepared me for the huge hill at the end. And that was where I hit my second low point. At mile 26 or so, there's There's like a 1,800-foot hill climb, and it's up that same technical downhill that I was talking about. And man, I really struggled up that. That I didn't really know how I was gonna get through that one. I ended up getting passed somewhere along the way, and I don't know. Once I got to the top, I was so relieved, but I ended up walking up so much of that hill, which I'm not really used to as a cross country runner.
Right.
But after that, I kind of just sucked it up. There was like 4 miles to go, and it was all downhill. So, and ended up hitting like my fastest mile at mile 33, 5:37. So I was pretty happy with that.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, training for 1,800-foot climb in Athens is
It's hard to
probably
do.
difficult. There's not. What is I think the longest one here is like 260.
Yeah, something like
So
that.
consistent. That's hard to do around here.
It is, yeah. Yeah, you just have to run as many hills as you can.
Do that treadmill trend people have been doing, like 15%. And
True. I don't know.
Doing that.
I haven't experimented with that. Mainly just to stick it to them.
Sweet. So let's take it back quite a few years, and let's go back to like when did you start running? Like, what's your first memory of a race that you ever took part in, and kind of what led you to even go down the path of running?
Yeah, I used to play soccer all the time when I was like really little, all the way up until 8th grade. And in 8th grade, I also got convinced to run track by a friend. And I ended up doing fairly well in track. In the shorter events, I ran like the 800 and 400 a lot. And I was really excited to run track and cross country in high school. And then that kind of all fell through, and I did band for like 2 years, marching band for 2 years. And I ended up doing jazz band and a bunch of music stuff. And then I had always kind of missed the running aspect, and I was fortunate to have a few friends, Adam Wise in particular, who kind of brought me back into the running world, and ended up running cross country my junior and senior year, and never was like the fastest guy on the course or anything, but kind of at the tail end of that top 7. And then somehow finagled my way into college cross country too.
Nice. How did
Yeah.
that go for you, cross country in college?
It was good. There's a kind of a big transition between like 5Ks to 8Ks, and that was kind of a struggle at first. But it was kind of the same thing with high school. I was never like the fastest guy again, and I just kind of held on to the back of the pack, and just kind of did that for a few years, and didn't really start kind of excelling as a racer until fairly recently.
The cross country experience at OU, did you walk on the team then? Like
Yeah.
sophomore, freshman?
It was my freshman year. I was trying to get in on the team, and they were eventually like, yeah, I mean, there's a spot for you if you just want to walk on. And so I walked on, did the whole pre-camp thing, and then that was that.
Sweet. So what led you to wanting to do longer distance races? So you did that for cross country then for the 4 years of college, and then assuming you didn't run too much trail or long distance stuff while you were in cross country, or did you do some of it and then just recently started doing a lot more?
I've always been a big fan of like backpacking and stuff, so I've always kind of had trail running kind of on the back of my mind. And a friend, actually, it was my senior year, I think it was in March or something, whenever the Bobcat half is. And like the last minute, he asked me to run the half with him. And I woke up pretty hungover and was like, yeah, okay, let's do it. And ended up getting like second place. And that was like the first time I was like, oh, trail running is actually kind of fun. And then you look at like the natural progression of a lot of college cross country runners. It seems like the next thing is just to run longer. Like a lot of people go from cross country to running like a marathon, trying to qualify for Boston. And then I think when you work at a place like OVRC or live in a place like Athens, trail running is obviously part of the community. And I've really been really fortunate to have like a lot of mentors in the trail running world that have kind of just left the doors wide open and the opportunities to just go around with them and kind of explore the trails around here. But a 50K was not really on the schedule for a while, and I never would have thought I would run a 50K last year, but we'll see where the future takes me, I guess.
So long distance stuff. You previously had a 24-hour event.
Yeah.
With the cross country team. You want to talk about that event and maybe what about that event may have fostered some inspiration for longer style distance stuff?
Yeah, that was a really unique event. I'd like to do something like that again, actually. You run 1 mile, and then you pass a baton on to your teammate. They run 1 mile, they pass it on, and you do it around a track for 24 hours and see how far your team can get. And I think our team averaged like 28 miles a person in 24 hours. And like sometimes we would run like really fast if we were trying to goof off, or sometimes at like 3 a.m. we'd be pretty dead and not run as fast. But that was just a really unique event that you don't really get the opportunity to do that often.
So how many people took part in that?
On my team, we started out with 8, but I think 2 people eventually dropped out at one point. So we ended up with 6 people and kind of struggling at the end. But yeah, it was just a really unique thing to be able to do.
Were there like multi-teams? So there was...
Yeah, there were, gosh, I don't know how many teams, but ranging from high school students to a few college students to like parents.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Was there any like winnings for it or just bragging rights?
Kind of bragging rights. There was another high school team that was like a year younger than my team that we were trying to beat, and I think we eventually edged them out. But there were no, I think that it was like a pledge. So however many miles we ran, our pledges would have to donate money to the Lancaster Cross Country and Track program.
Yeah, it sounds like a fun...
Yeah, it was cool. I kind of hope something like that gets started
You could always start
down here. I asked Michael. I think his response was, "Do you want to organize it?"
I'm sure he's busy with all of his races.
Right.
But did that race have any like put any thoughts in the back of your head about like long distance running as a possibility, or was it just fun and you never thought about it? Or
I think at that point it was just kind of fun. It was still early on in my career, and I think I got kind of scolded by the other cross-country runners on the OU team because they thought it was going to ruin my summer training. But another, Adam Wise did it with me, and we all did fine eventually. But it was just pretty fun at the time.
Nice. Do you have any, so what do you got coming up in the future? Like what are your upcoming goals and things like that for running?
Yeah, so I was originally signed up for the Thunder Bunny 12K, which is this upcoming weekend, and I was really excited for that. And kind of, I don't know, just after running Promised Land and like having such a fun time with that, I've decided to bump up to the 50K. So I have like 3 or 4 days to get ready for that.
Ready for that?
But I'm feeling okay. The knee is feeling a little weird. But it should be good. The competition is fairly close, I think. Alex Gold will be there. Apparently he just ran pretty quick at the Flying Pig Marathon, which is a pretty hilly marathon. and then Adam Wise will always be there to push. So,
What's your goal? Do you have a goal in mind, or are you just going to have fun?
um, I would like to be in the top three. I think that course record is pretty stout, and I think it's going to be a little bit muddy.
It's supposed to rain the next 2 days.
Yeah.
I remember the first year at Thunder Bunny, worked at the first aid station, which is also the last one for the 50K.
Yeah.
And like, it just rained the entire day, and it rained the day before, and people just came through like covered in mud.
So yeah, that should be pretty fun.
You'll use some new muscles in that one.
Yeah, that'll feel a little weird. Although I think the course record was set during a fairly muddy year. Was it that year?
I think it was.
Yeah, so
I don't know off the top of my head, so don't quote me 100%, but I think it was. But I think Wesley's coming down. He's gonna watch. I'm assuming hopefully get some footage. He's got you in the predictions in the top.
Yeah,
three,
I saw
think.
that. Yeah.
So he thinks you're gonna do fairly well.
I think he put me somewhere in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I feel about that, but
Now you got like a little bullet on your back.
Yeah.
Bullseye.
We'll see what happens. I don't know. I think top 3 or top 5 is fairly reasonable. Don't want to put myself out there too far.
I would agree. You gonna finish that race and enjoy some nice brews?
Yeah, I think so. I think we'll probably be swimming at Stroud's afterwards.
Should be warm that day.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to be like perfect weather. So run for like 4.5 hours and then hang out.
It's always a good time.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting race that day because of the 12K is the collegiate championship, I believe, right?
Yeah, that'll be pretty cool. I think it's at a different start time than everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be neat to kind of hear how that goes. And hopefully they really blow it out of the water. I think it'll be pretty fast.
Yeah.
Especially since they have like a fairly reasonable winnings to take home. But I'm really excited to see how quick they can go on those 2 trails.
Yeah, they're a lot up and down.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they're gorgeous trails.
Yeah, they are beautiful.
So let's look into the future beyond Thunder Bunny this weekend.
Yeah.
What do you have in mind, and kind of maybe what some goals you have for yourself throughout this year and next year?
Yeah. I haven't quite decided the race lineup, but I think I'm gonna probably do the Columbus Marathon again, and that'll be in October, and try to run 2:30 something, break 2:40, and then from there I think that would be a good tune-up to then run the JFK 50 miler.
It's a fast course.
Yeah, it's supposed to be pretty quick, and that'll be kind of the next progression in distance, I think. The last 50 miler I didn't really pan out that well, so I kind of have to redeem myself, and you might as well do it when the second half is like a marathon on like a flat towpath. So,
Speaking of that race, are you going to attempt to go back and show that race who's boss, or are you just going to leave that one as is?
Yeah, the Shawnee 50 was interesting.
An immense amount of elevation.
Yeah, it's pretty absurd.
Desolate trails out there in the Shawnee State.
Yeah, that place is honestly like wild. No, that was good. I think I was kind of naive at that time, but I had just ran the Columbus, and like 2 weeks after was Shawnee, and it's like, might as well go for it. It's just 50 miles.
How far did you make it during that race?
31 miles, and it was like freezing temperatures that day, and I was feeling like crap at like mile 15, so I don't know how I ended up making it that far.
Were you part of the core group that went up the trail?
Yeah, it was like the top 5 of us at the time at like mile 6 ended up getting redirected to a different direction than everyone else, and
Got an extra 3 miles.
yeah, turned us around a mile and a half in, and we like sped to catch back up to everyone, and that's where I kind of crashed and burned when I was trying to make up that time. And the race is already long, of course. It's an ultra, so it's not going to be exactly 50 miles.
Right.
And I was just thinking, like, an extra 3 miles after 54 or whatever, like, that's just absurd. So that didn't help my mentality throughout the day.
Getting closer to 100K.
Yeah,
For
like,
that race.
come on.
On that I'm sure I had to put a big damper on the mood for the whole day.
It did. I was kind of sad about that one. But I mean, I really underestimated the hills. I hadn't really been running that many hills to get ready for Columbus, which was my main goal for the fall. But unfortunately, I don't think the timing of it really works out for me.
Yeah, this year I think
this
it's
year?
in October, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's earlier.
Which I think is a good call. The weather will probably be a little bit better. Hopefully, get some more people to do it. But it's already like growing to be a large success, I think. It's got that like title of Ohio's hardest, hilliest ultra or whatever it is.
Yeah, it's a pretty tough one.
It is, yeah.
So after the JFK, do you have intentions to keep racking up that distance, or you
gosh.
kind of make those decisions when you get there, or like is the goal 100? Is the goal 24-hour races?
People keep asking me like, when are you gonna run 100 miles? And I really personally right now have no serious intention of racing 100 miles in the near future. And the same thing with like the backyard ultra stuff. Like I'd rather run a 100-mile race, I think, than run 100 miles in 24 hours. Or try to. But I kind of just toy around with it. I think it's more fun to run faster, or to try to run faster with like these kind of intermediate distances, like the marathon, the 50K.
Speed matters in those distances, whereas the 100, it's
Yeah,
strategy.
yeah, it is, and just like really finding that pace where you can just like consistently knock off miles. But I think while I can, I'll probably just try to push myself and try to get some faster. I never thought I'd be saying an intermediate distance is 50K, but yeah, I think that's the goal right now.
So that's always a funny question to find about people. When did you ever hear of what an ultra was? Like, so when I started running, it was like the marathon was the longest thing, and that was it, right?
Yeah, I thought that was it.
And then all of a sudden I found out about ultras, and then it was like, you mean you run 4 marathons? And like, now that I like hang out with like the running store people and the running community down here, like more often than not, I could point to someone and be like, they probably run 100.
Yeah.
Whereas like, I go outside of that group and everyone's like, what? So like, what did you think when you first heard of like the ultra distances?
I thought it was pretty ridiculous, honestly, when I first heard about it. I don't know exactly when. Probably sometime in college is when I really started to like know people who were running 100-mile races, and I was like, oh, they're just slow. I mean, they just slog it out at a really slow pace. But I mean, some of these 100-milers. Racers can still like knock out sub-16 5Ks.
Like Walmsley. And
yeah, I mean,
even Michael can.
Yeah,
do
seriously,
stupid fast 5Ks.
It's pretty impressive. But yeah, like, I mean, Jonathan Bernard, he like started running ultras like kind of just off the bat, and I feel like never really experimented too much with like these like dainty 5Ks and stuff. It's pretty wild to kind of step into that world and kind of realize like what people are doing with it, and people are really pushing the boundaries with like the 50-mile record was just broken this past week by Jim Walmsley on the road at like 5:40 something pace. Like that's pretty cool to me.
It's really fast.
Yeah.
I don't think I could run a 540 mile. I'm a fast runner, so like to do that for 50, let alone do it for a half marathon or even a full,
Yeah.
it's still like respectable time.
Seriously. I
So,
love that.
Yeah, I'm interested to see where that's going to go in the future and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's talk about maybe a little bit, since you say you do work at the running store and you've made mentions about how that's impacted you
Yeah.
in your running career and just personally. What kind of, like, what do you think about like the ultra running community and what has it done for you and helps you and like the running store and Team Run Athens? And...
Yeah. Honestly, I think the ultra community is awesome. They promote like so much positivity within running. And that's kind of what I was looking for after I got out of like the college scene where it's really competitive and everything and very serious. The ultra world is very serious as well, but like it's open to everyone, you know, everyone can go run out on the trails. And I love seeing that. And especially in a place like Athens, which I knew it was pretty powerful in the trail running world. But like Stroud's is so awesome, and it's right in our backyard. Lake Hope is so close. Burr Oak is so close.
30 minutes.
Yeah,
less, and
seriously.
Shawnee's 45. Like
this is a pretty neat like
Wayne
area.
National Forest too.
Yeah, seriously.
A lot of times running out there is always awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
And I would have never really figured that out without the people that I've met in like OVRC. OVRC has been a pretty cool place to promote all this crazy long running stuff.
So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps up our discussion for the most part.
Okay.
Do you have anything else that you want to chat about?
I think that's good. I'm just excited to see how this weekend goes.
We'll be rooting for you.
Yeah, thank you.
We'll have the results next week on the rundown.
Sounds good.
So to end, we've got two fun little questions we're going to ask. And I think Michael stole these from another podcast, and I'm not really sure which one off the top of my head. But if you could share a run with any person from history, dead or alive, and assuming they could keep up with you or you could keep up with them, depending on who it is, who would you run with and where?
That's a good question. So I'm a big Freddie Mercury fan. I don't think he was a big runner, but it'd kind of be cool to chat with him for a few hours. And honestly, I think it'd be pretty cool one of my favorite runs was in Glacier National Park. That was a pretty neat place. Never really felt so alone while on a run. But I think I'd probably do some kind of cool run with Freddie Mercury.
It's an interesting one. I always find that question interesting because it's like, because you can quote anybody.
Yeah,
not just a runner.
Pretty open.
And whatnot. So, but yeah, that's a good answer. And then the second one we have here is, if you had 25 shots from half court on a basketball court, and if you made one, you got $25 million. But if you missed all 25, you go to jail for 25 years. Would you risk the shots? Would you take them?
I'm so bad at basketball. I took a basketball course here, and I think I got it passed to me like once. But yeah, why not? Why not go for it? Yeah.
25 million is a lot of money.
Why not? You're bound to make one, right?
I would hope so. Cool. Well, thanks for coming on the show with us.
Yeah,
today.
it's been great.
It's been a good time getting to know you and talking about your history and your future goals and whatnot. So
yeah.
Check us out on YouTube, Google Play, Apple Podcast Store, all the fun stuff. And we'll see you next time on the next Trail Talk.